Oh, hello everybody, blessings to you all. Welcome to this live video. Say hi when you are jumping on. If you're watching this on YouTube or Instagram, you'll be watching the replay. And just check as well, if you're watching this on Facebook, there'll be a little red live button at the top which lets you know whether I'm live or whether you're watching the replay. But do say hi. Let me know how you're getting on, how you are feeling, and if it's the first time that you are viewing me on my channel, please feel very welcome to follow if my vibration resonates with you, if you like what you hear today, if it makes you feel good, right? Or if it helps, more if it helps, I would say. So we're about a week away from a full moon. Not only a full moon, but also the vernal equinox, right? The spring equinox for those in the northern hemisphere. For those in the southern hemisphere, we're going to be approaching the autumn equinox, right? So those in the north are going into the spring, those planting of the seeds, new beginnings, lots of beautiful, vibrant gorgeousness, awakening after a winter, after a very, very rebirth-filled winter, it seems. And for those in the southern hemisphere, you're going into that time of abundance, right? You're going into that time of the harvest. Hi, Stuart. Welcome. Thank you for being here. So we're going to have a little look at the energies that are coming up this next week, and just a bit of guidance with how to stay grounded and in flow state. Now, what do I mean by flow state? So we are energetic beings, right? We are energy, right? We're constantly moving, vibrating, flowing, expanding, contracting. We are doing all of that, whether we are still or whether we're actually moving. We are constantly vibrating, right? And what happens on our physical body, because our physical body, this beautiful temple of light, it is exactly that. It is light, right? It is light that has been drawn in by you, by your higher self, to form the body that you're in. But it's very dense light, which makes it physical to touch, right? And within, on those layers, we have between the spiritual and the physical, there are many different layers, but the main ones that people will talk about will be the emotional and the mental, which are in between there. Now, the mental body is where our beliefs come from, right? Our mental body is where, patterns and behaviors are created and practiced over a space of time, right? And then we have our emotional body, which tells us whether we are in alignment and flow with our truth, our higher self, our heart light, or whether we are in resistance to it, whether we are contrasting and contracting, right? Our vibration. So the emotions are always a great way to tell us whether or not we are flowing, because if we are feeling happy, if we're feeling calm, if we're feeling buoyant and vibrant and blissful and just fun, just light-hearted, when we're feeling like that, those emotions are indicating to us that we are in flow state, and we are receiving in that point higher frequency manifestations. So we are always receiving 24/7, right? Always receiving. The thing that some people get a little bit hung up on and say, oh, I can't receive right now, is because they're not receiving what they are wanting, what they're truly desiring, right? But let's just clarify, we are constantly receiving. We just might be attracting a lower vibration, right, than what we actually want to manifest. So that's important to know. Because when we're feeling kind of disheartened, when we're feeling a little bit frustrated, and a lot of these emotions can be quite hidden to our, they can be quite hidden to our consciousness, to our mind. There's a disconnect there between the emotional body and the mental body, right? And what can happen is we feel something, but we don't know how to describe it. Maybe we didn't learn as a child how to differentiate different emotions and actually understand what they were, right? And that happens to many, many people, where we will categorize a feeling as an overall feeling. We might say we're angry when really we're actually sad, or we're grieving, or something like that. Or we might say, that we're desiring something. But really, the vibration that we're putting out and what we're actually feeling is not that of desire. It's actually that of lack, or of sorry, some of my things are just falling off here. It's actually a vibration of lack, or it's a vibration of not having, right? And then that invokes a fear-based response, within your body. Now, it's important that we start out by saying this because there's a real call right now for discernment of the emotional body to help you, to help us know what it is that we're creating, because at this time when we're moving to equal day and equal night, which is what the equinox is, this powerful portal and gateway that we're moving very fastly towards, which is going to be opened by this wonderful full moon in Virgo on the 17th, right? There's going to be a real emphasis on this love, this self-love, this inner standing, this knowing who you are, right? This knowing what is serving you and this knowing what you are creating and birthing, right? And what's really beautiful about the emotions and being able to discern how we're feeling, and to do this, by the way, is very simple. We just need to spend time being. And that can already be quite triggering for some people, because some may say, oh, is that meditating? And then there's a trigger word where we've got a lot of preconceived notions and perhaps failed attempts. I know when I first started being still, whenever someone would call it meditating, I would have resistance towards that word because I had already tried meditating in a way that someone had taught me, not realizing that just by breathing and being and just sitting and noticing, that is actually meditating as well. So I had this notion that a meditation had to be an empty mind and silence, and stop everything. And that's not really what it is. It is simply the being aware and being present, right, of what is actually happening, rather than ignoring it and allowing it to be bypassed and things like that. So we start out by saying about the emotions, because what's being called very powerfully right now is to address the mind. A lot of the experiences that we've had growing up, they form patterns because at some point in our life, our inner child or our mind body has done something to protect ourselves, has thought a certain way or perceived something in a certain way, and that has served us greatly. But we're being called to ascend the mind right now. We're being called to really attune to a higher perception, right? And we know this as well by what's happening in the world, because there is so much going on to distract us and to cause division, to cause us to take a side, to cause us to feel something. And isn't it interesting how quick people can be manipulated, right? By something someone is saying on the news or somewhere like that. And this is really important because we're being called to recognize how we're being swayed. Where does our truth come from? Is it coming from outside of ourselves and what a few people are starting to say? And are we tuning into that stream of thought and that stream of consciousness and adopting it for our own? Or are we actually feeling into and seeing with our own inner eye, with our own heart space, what our truth is? Are we tuning into something that we don't need to see, or are we focusing on our alignment? Because realistically, we are creating our own reality. You hear that all the time. I'm not the first person, I won't be the last to say that to you. We are creating our own reality. You can see that every single day by how you start your day, by the mood that the mood or the thought that you go into a situation with, right? Whatever you think it's going to be, it's probably going to be that way, right? So if you work in an office and you go in thinking, oh, it's going to be a long day, how long does that day drag? You're creating that. It's a very simple way of explaining that. Similarly, on a grander scale, right? If we allow ourselves to be focused, seeing, hearing about what others may be doing and their perception of that, and this is the key word, because this is where the emotional discernment comes in. Because it's when we look upon something and we have a judgment, a bias, a charge, people call these different things. When we have an opinion over something that we haven't experienced firsthand, our emotions are being manipulated. We are being manipulated. We're allowing that to happen. But this is a good thing. Let me tell you why it's a good thing. It's a good thing because your soul, your higher self, is calling for expansion, and it's calling for you to master the art of discernment, right? So I started out this video by saying, this was about how do we stay in flow when there is a lot going on right now? How do we stay in that flow state? How do we receive what it is that we want to receive? Well, everything has a vibration. You know this already. Once again, I know you hear this from other people. Everything has a vibration that we're tuning into, right? And everything that we are focused on, that is what comes in. We are like a wonderful vortex. We're like, you fill the sink up and then you take the plug out and there's that little swirly and everything gets drawn into that. That is what is happening in and around you all the time. So we are being called now more than ever to really notice how we're feeling, right? Really notice how we're feeling and really using our power of creation, using our power of our intention to create based off how we want to feel. So, for example, a lot of people ask me about abundance, right? We always seem to kind of want more things. Prices seem to rise and our paycheck doesn't seem to rise, or we want to go out into the world and create something and have an abundant business in that way. And, a lot of people, ask me about that. And will I say to them, how is your flow around abundance in general, right? How is your flow around money? When you're spending money, for example, before you receive a bill, before anything, have you already set your intention as to how you're going to feel about doing that? Because that is the key to everything. And try this out. Try this for a week. Every time you go to tap your card, doop, pay for something, whether it's a coffee or whether it's a bill or whatever it is, before you do so, just take a moment to be still and just say, thank you, money. This is just an example, just from what someone asked me before. But if one person's asking me, then, a few will be asking about this. So thank the energy. Set out the intention beforehand. If you know that you have a phone bill, for example, I have a phone contract, right, for my mobile phone. And every month around a certain date, I get told how much my next bill is going to be because I don't know how much it's going to be. But before that arrives, before I open it, I set my intention already. I'm like, I'm going to feel so good about how this feels. I'm going to feel so good about how much I have to pay, how much I'm exchanging. It doesn't matter what the underlying current is around certain bills, because I know that people that watch this channel might also be familiar with private law, might also be familiar with some of the things that go on in the world around energy bills and things like that. But that aside, when we focus on something that doesn't make us feel good, that's what we're going to attract more of. If we focus on feeling good about something, regardless as to what we see and experience in our day-to-day, then we're going to attract only good feeling experiences, which then turns into physical manifestations of what it is that we desire. Does that make sense? And this is really important for right now, for this week coming up, right? Because we're at the first quarter moon. It's first quarter moon in Gemini. That's a lot of mind energy, right? That's a lot of going this way or that. You can go this way or you can go that way, right? And then we're going to move from Gemini into Cancer, which is very watery and kind of like that shell of the crab might want to just kind of hunch over a little bit, So allowing us to start to notice today around this first quarter moon, because the first quarter moon allows us to really take stock as to where we're going and what we're creating. And it's a very powerful time to change direction should we need to. Should we need to refine that. And then as we go from Gemini into Cancer, that allows us to really notice how we are picking up collective currents and collective beliefs and feelings, right? It allows us to notice what we are feeling emotionally and then use that power of emotion, how it was intended, to tell you if you're on track or not on track with your truth, with our truth, right? And then we move into the wonderful Leo, right? Moon in Leo. Very playful, fiery energy, can be very focused, very flamboyant, very open and creative. Before we come to a full moon in Virgo, really emphasizing this loving energy, this self-care, this pregnancy of creation, right? So I'm going to draw some cards here, but I am also going to say that, this weekend, I've actually opened extra one-to-one availability appointments for this weekend specifically. I don't usually have weekend availability or evening availability, but this weekend we've managed to open some spaces. So if you are feeling the call for any angelic guidance, any quantum healing, right, past life regression, Akashic record work, any womb healing, priestess attunements, things like that, this weekend is a very, very, very good time to book that in before the full moon, before the equinox. And for anyone that is on my email list, you'll be receiving a discount in your inbox. So do be sure to, if you're not subscribed to my email list, do be sure to subscribe. You can just go to aliceheath.com to do that. But look, I have Archangel Zadkiel coming out here. Archangel Zadkiel is helping us a massive amount right now. You know, we've got this beautiful violet energy, and for anyone that takes photographs and you have those orbs in there, it's interesting to notice the colour of the orbs that you have. A lot of times people right now are getting a lot of purple colour orbs. Now this changes through time and the vibration and which archangels are around you, right? You know, those orbs are carrying angelic frequency on the photographs, right? So if you've got purple orbs on there, you know you've got Zadkiel coming in to help you transmute. Maybe the land around you is being transmuted in energy. Maybe you are transmuting something. We know right now that Archangel Gabriel is very present. I know Gabriel's like literally always here with me right now. You know, helping to purify, helping to communicate, helping to really discern, right? And helping to clear our lower chakras as well, because when we are moving through this space and time, you know, it's okay to kind of want to have that spiritual know-how, want to be able to connect with the light realms and the angelic and celestial and star realms. But if we can't actually bring those light codes down into our lower chakras, then it's just like a short circuit, isn't it? It doesn't actually do the upgrade that we want it to have. So it is really important to be working with our physical layer as well, working with our lower chakras, our root chakra, our sacral chakra, because that is what's being triggered on a collective scale right now as well, right? You know, it goes from one thing to another, all aspects of the root chakra that are being revisited right now. Can we see that? Right? Do we notice that? You know, for the past couple of years, it's been about health and wholeness, and now it's about fear in a very different way, right? If we're choosing to tune into that, right? It's very interesting to see how quickly we may shift our perception and choose to have a belief about a people or a country or someone because a media group is saying something. Isn't that interesting? I would advise anyone that is on social media, that is on, that is still tuning into television and the radio, to switch it off if you really care about your vibration, really care about what you're creating in your life. For real, right? Or choose a different social media platform that you are able to maybe be a little bit more specific about what you see, right? We have Lady Gaia coming in, and I want to thank everyone that was on the call that we did with the Seraphim last week, with Seraphim, Lady Gaia, and Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. It was very, very, very powerful, and the light that we spread through the earth was just phenomenal, and she does thank us. She does thank us. But she reminds us as well that we may be faced with a few challenges in this next coming week, because once again, the challenges that we face, it's not outside of us. They are only within us. Only. Because we, on a soul level, once again, our soul wants to expand. We want to experience things. And we can't learn our lessons without the challenge in front of us. You know, otherwise we stagnate. We don't grow. So Lady Gaia reminds us, you know, the Archangel of the Earth. She reminds us and she thanks us for being here. Because we are, our bodies are an extension of the Earth. Right? So we can only be here on this planet, which we desired so much, to come down and experience physicality because of all the wonderful things that being physical can bring. You know, it's not, you can't really touch anyone else on another planet because we don't have a physical body. You know what I mean? So, you know, she reminds us that we are loved, that we are welcome. And that although there are challenges and we will all experience individual challenges that will be unique to ourselves, that we create them because we know we've already overcome them. And that we have the love and support of the Divine Mother, right? And once again, I find this so poignant because we're coming up to a Virgo full moon. Like, you know, what other energy, right, is, you know, as motherly as Virgo energy, right? You know, that beautiful, it's very land and sea, I find, with Virgo. But also can be quite quick and smart as well because of that Mercury influence, right? But we do have the Seraphim supporting us. We have so many angelic supporting us. Look. So if you see and just notice when you're out and about, you know, notice what patterns the light is playing. Because all that light, that's colour therapy, that's vibration. We started out by talking about what vibration are you tuning into. It's a sure way to know when you see the light refractions, right? Either on a camera or through a window, or maybe you see a rainbow just starting to dance on your wall and you're like, what's happened? And you realize that the sun has just caught a part of the glass in a very beautiful way. They are all light codes, right? They're all light codes, helping us attune and remember the joy of being, right? Remember the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Allow ourselves to tune into the divine will. And, people ask me often, how do I do that? How do I do that? And I say, we just have to stop not doing it. As simple as that. Just breathe. That is all we need to do, is breathe. Release the hold and the concept that we need to be doing something to connect with a being of light. Our vibration naturally is very, very high. So when we allow ourselves to go, actually, I don't need to be doing anything specifically, I can just be, that will align us. Right. So I'm going to draw a couple of cards here just for a bit of guidance for the rest of the week. We've already seen some from some archangels. But let's have a look at what guidance we have for the next few days to really support you and to make sure that you stay in that flow state of being. Okay. So on the bottom of the deck here, we've got mirror, right? This card, look at her. This woman here, looking into the mirror and just seeing this beautiful goddess staring back out, right? Truth revealed. Because that's exactly what we're being shown in our day-to-day. Our experience is so unique. No one else in the world is having the experience we are having. So therefore, on that premise, no one can actually have the exact same thought or belief that we do. So it's always delightful to connect with another and to experience another's interpretation, but always come back to your own. Always come back to your own truth. Always. Because no one else, apart from you, can have your truth. Can speak it, can be it, can embody it. And your truth is beautiful and perfect and needed. But we are being shown, right? The world is a mirror. Every being, every one is a mirror. Every experience you have is a mirror to show you where your vibration is at as well. It's a very real way of seeing that. And look at that, underneath that card we have the goddess, which I love because, we started out by saying, she's seeing into the mirror, she's seeing her heart light, she's seeing her clear discernment of energy, her ability to create, and then we have goddess energy. And the moon phases and insight and discernment. This is going to be a very powerful week to actually really see through the muddiness of emotions that we haven't yet traversed, that we haven't yet noticed, that have been so in the background that we've not noticed we've felt them, or that we've had a pattern of belief that has gone a certain way. It is a time for introspection right now. We've got this waning moon card. The waning moon is very introspective. It's time for us to take stock. What do we think? What do we feel? I can't emphasize this enough right now. We can't emphasize this enough right now, because this is a rite of passage. Got mugwort coming in here. This is a rite of passage. This is a portal and a gateway and a timeline jump. It's a quantum shift. And once again, if anyone is really wanting to grab the bull by the horns and really intentionally timeline shift, then please feel welcome to book an Akashic session, a quantum healing session. Like I say, if you're on my email list, I'll be sending out a discount code this weekend, or this week for this weekend. So if that calls to you, you have weekend availability. But it is not the time to take action. And I know that this summer card says it's time to take action. It is not just yet. Not just yet. Because right now where we're at, once again, we're going back to this introspection. And we're going back to this rite of passage. And we have to physically go through that. We have to allow ourselves to notice what that rite of passage is, what we're feeling. And that literally is what we're feeling. That's all it is, really. A rite of passage, things might be happening around. It's how we're choosing to respond. Because a rite of passage oftentimes is something that you've created time and time again, an experience or pattern that has returned again and again and again and again. And instead of reacting the same way and doing the same pattern, we go, oh, for the first time I've seen that differently. It's like I see it with fresh eyes. I'm going to respond differently. I'm not going to be afraid this time. I'm not going to do what someone else says because someone's saying that I need to do something. Do I really need to do that? Do I really believe that? What is my truth? What does my heart light say? Where is my focus? Am I focusing on something that is going to create something beautiful? Or am I focusing vibrationally? And vibrationally is not with the mind. Vibration is the undercurrent that our mind translates. Vibration is the undercurrent that our mind translates. So by the time it's a thought, it's already very powerfully in motion, right? So that's why it's important to, this card wasn't about taking action. This card is about vibration. It's about finding that light. It's about finding that, enjoying surfing those waves as they arrive and doing a few 180 flips maybe on the way, But it's a time to connect with the sun as well, right? That pranic energy coming in from the sun is nourishing. From the moon, she's nourishing. Connect both, daytime and nighttime. Allow it to help because the sun works very much with our physical layer and with our mental layer, right? As well as many other things, but the moon works with our emotional layer, our celestial layer of being. So connect with both of those energies. Everything is here for you in this world. Everything is created for you in this world. For your highest good, even if we don't choose to see it that way. But if you ever were going to see something that has tripped you up for a little while in a different way and shift it once and for all, it's going to be now. And then what a beautiful card to end with, because at the end of the week we have this full moon, right? Completion. You really have succeeded in your rite of passage. You've traversed all you need to traverse. It's a culmination of all things that haven't served to be upgraded, cleared, metamorphosized, transmuted. For you to refine your presence, your light, and your direction, your focus. Right. I'm going to draw one more Archangel card. And I do welcome questions as well. How have you been feeling this past week? What are you looking forward to in this coming week? Because we have the equinox as well. I will do a video specifically on the full moon and the equinox next week. I've just been to Avebury, and I'll be sharing that experience. Recently I was in Avalon, and then I went to Avebury before I came back home for a little bit of rest before I then go to Stonehenge for the equinox. And the land, the stones, they were so grateful. The light that was wanting to come through, and the help and assistance for us to remember our vibrational truth and what that really feels like, that bliss and that abundance, that joy, that frivolity. We're being reminded. And it can be very moving and emotional at times to feel that unconditional love. But it is there for you. Look at this. Lord Wu of Sil, Lord of Karma. Last card coming out here. To remind us that, we are a being of the universe. We are all connected. What you are going through, what you are experiencing is being experienced by others as well. And the only thing that stops us realizing that is whether we choose to connect with another or not. Whether we choose to isolate ourselves or not, right? And every time we step out and take a deep breath, we connect with that flow of the universe. We connect with one another on the waves of light, on the currents of the air, in our waters, that inner fire, and that earth and self. We connect. And it is in doing that that we release the karma that we want to. That it's time to. Everyone can do this. And it is your birthright. It is your birthright. So I send you so much love, and thank you so much for being here with me today. If you're being called to go to a sacred site, if you're close to one, if you're being called to nature, go and listen to what she says. Because you will be rewarded for it. You will be thanked for it, because that's how the world works. Give and take, give and receive, I should say. You give, you then receive. You receive, you are giving. Right? It's always in balance and harmony, regardless as to what we do. The earth will always continue to spin, and she will always bring herself to harmony. So I close this video off at 11:11. I send you all so much love, and I look forward to seeing you on my newsletter or on the next live. I'll be doing some card readings on the next live stream I do, so do stay tuned for that. I think that'll probably be on Friday. So much love. Bye.